Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. Today's guest is Yannick Tuwamo from Columbus, Ohio. He's going to share with us his journey of turning a rundown laundromat into a thriving community resource. But before we get into that, let's share a little about one of our partners.
Yeah, today's episode, we're going to spotlight LaundroBoost. I know you've heard us talking a lot about them over the last year or so. We launched LaundroBoost, which is a digital marketing company focused specifically on laundromats and dry cleaning and those industries, because those are the worlds that we live in. That's what we know really well. We brought in a business partner named Brett. You can go back and check out that episode. We talked about it on a previous podcast, but we want to spotlight it today because we're excited for the growth that LaundroBoost has had. And we think that we can help you find similar growth. So we started this business with just me and Carla and Brett works full-time in the business, our CEO. And we've grown it to the point where not even a year in yet, we now have a team of 8 to 9 people. So we're creating departments, and that's how much demand there is. And so if you have needs for digital marketing needs, if you want us to refresh or build a website for you, if you want us to boost your Google My Business listing, these are all products and services that are available. We're also kind of honing in on not just Google Ads and geofencing and things like that, which are core business structures for us, but also things like retargeting and creating lookalike lists and being able to really drive down the social media aspects to it. And ultimately, what we would tell you is we can sit here today, and even though we own this business with our business partner, we could tell you today confidently that Queen City Laundry, our chain of laundromats, is growing faster than we've ever grown in our 14-year history because of our digital marketing team at LaundroBoost. So we're excited to share that with you today. If we can help you in any way, go check out LaundroBoostMarketing.com, or there's a link on our website, LaundromatMillionaire.com, where you can learn more about that. We're happy to give you a free quote, take a look at your digital presence, and give you our opinions of that without charging you anything. So anyway, that's what we have for today. We hope you'll get a lot of value out of this episode. Let's jump right into it.
You can only do but so much reading and so much YouTubing until you just have to take some action. I didn't get the first deal. There's underlying things that you didn't think about or take into consideration. Most importantly, serve the community.
So Yannick, welcome to the show today. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Carla.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I'm not going to hold it against you that you're from Columbus, Ohio.
Well, he's not from there. He moved
Or you
there.
live in Columbus, Ohio. Okay,
Yes.
Good point. Good point. I always try to give people an out. Like, you're not from Columbus, you just live in Columbus. If you know much about me, I'm a big Michigan Wolverines fan. So
Right.
I like to tease people. Yeah.
By way, I've come accustomed to the Buckeye way. So
yeah, I know. That's why I would never live there. I just can't do that.
Yeah,
Cincinnati is just barely in Ohio. So
yeah, he likes to say he doesn't live in Ohio. He lives Kentucky adjacent.
From Kentucky. I'm literally minutes from the bridge, so I'm barely in Ohio.
Good.
Yeah.
So people ask me all the time if or sometimes they tell me I'm a Buckeye. I said no, I'm an Ohioan. Not a Buckeye. But anyway, I do love the state of Ohio for what that's worth. So anyway, listen, we are honored to have you on the show today. And you have one location called the Soapbox Global Laundry. And this is a retail laundromat in Columbus. And then you have a few car washes too. We probably won't get into that today, but I know people in the laundromat business love to talk about car washes because a lot of people have foot in each industry type of thing. But we're actually
getting our first car. Well, we have a car wash that we bought a property that had a car wash that had been gutted. And we're actually in the process right now of getting it up and working again. So we're actually getting into our first car wash.
Nice.
And it'll definitely be a side hustle for us. It's not going to
be fun.
Not going to be our core business, but I actually just earlier this morning had a meeting with distributors, and it's funny how the correlations between industries and how to find a good distributor and what to look for and the red flags and all these things that I've been teaching for years that I had to learn the hard way back in 2010. Now I'm able to take at least some of that and translate it over.
And, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, it's amazing how helpful it's been in just a very short period of time. But make no mistake. I'm a laundromat owner through and through. But anyways, listen, I want to hear kind of about your backstory. I know you are, I don't know if I should call you a serial entrepreneur, but I know that term gets thrown around, but I know you're an entrepreneur in a lot. You have had your hand in kind of a lot of different ventures over the years, including your car washes. But tell us about kind of your upbringing and how you got into this industry and what brought you to this industry, what attracted it to you, those types of things. Because there's a lot of people out there that are actually in that situation right now that are listening to our show, and they can get a lot of what I call golden nuggets from you sharing your story and kind of what happened with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yannick Tuwamo again. So growing up, I was raised out of North Carolina. Both my parents, two immigrants from Democratic Republic of Congo. So if you back in those days, it was either you were going to go to work or you were going to make a way for yourself. So happenstance, some of my family members were already in like convenience store businesses. So my parents kind of took accustomed to that too, and learned that business and went and did it for themselves. So from the age that I can remember, I mean, I was in kindergarten, like on the cash register.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
You were learning math on the cash register?
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, just being on the cash register, ringing folks up, and it really made my math game sharp, because sometimes cash register would break and you would really have to go by hand and know exactly what you were doing. So to follow up with that, they ended up getting their own store. And so I worked there as well after school. They would bring me over there. It was very much a family-owned business. So they were bringing me there, and I was just picking up on everything, and it became a way of life. And I've always seen myself owning something. So to fast forward, I get through high school, and my dad passes away, and he was pretty much like the brains of the operation. So we ended up having to take home. I'm probably around 17, 18, getting ready to go to college. But it just came my turn to just take over. And it was like everything that I learned from that kindergarten year up until now is just taking effect, and was able to run that all while going to college. So help my mom kind of pivot out of that. We ended up renting it out, and we were able to keep the real estate, of course. And that's where my head has always been: real estate. And I did not envision myself being in a convenience store, just because I didn't like how certain things in the community were happening. I wanted to have a positive play within the community. So I didn't want to sell alcohol. I didn't want to sell cigarettes, all those things that affect the body. I didn't want to do. So I was like, hey, where do I fit in this business ordeal? And that kind of set me apart to find the laundromat, car wash industry, real estate in general, because I found comfort in helping people, serving them in that aspect, and serving them in the real estate industry. In those aspects, I found comfort in that. And I know I'm gaining or adding positivity to folks' lives. So that's my primary upbringing and how I kind of got started, to say the least.
So when you sold the car, or not the car wash, when you sold the convenience store, did you immediately buy a car wash, or what was the transition over into laundromats?
No, so I actually had no involvement with the sales, so to speak, other than orchestrating the deal. So that was kind of like my mom's thing. So we just helped her get that under her belt, and then that way she had some cash coming in, and she survived, to say the least. But for me, I ended up joining the military. Well, actually, right before I joined the military, I came across Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book.
One of his favorites.
Yes, yeah. And that kind of like turned the gear on me. I was already there, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. So then I was focused on real estate at that point. So once I joined the military, I said, hey, I can use the VA loan to get a house, and basically put zero money down or whatnot. So that was my first goal, getting out of the military, or getting in the military, and then buying a property. So as soon as I could, I bought the property. And then within that piece, I met a guy, Larry Curtis, and he told me about everything as far as the mentorship is concerned, and how to structure your deals and what to look for. So then we went and bought other properties within that area, that local area. And then we kind of did that as we hopped around.
So were you like flipping houses?
No,
like,
we weren't flipping. We were just buying and holding.
You were just buying them and owning them.
Yeah,
and then would you rent them out, or were they homes or commercial buildings?
We would buy and hold, rent them out. They were all residential properties at this time. And just being able to do that allowed us to have that seed capital to hop into other ventures. So fast forward, I'm getting close to where my contract is going to be up. And then my wife is basically like, hey, we need some stability because we're moving every 2 years. Kids are getting, new teachers, new coaches. Everything's new every 2 years. The best thing that we needed was a support system because, we used to fly our mother-in-law out just to come and watch the kids so we could go on a date night.
Wow.
So we weren't having too many dates.
Expensive babysitter.
Yeah, absolutely. But she came willingly, and we kind of settled in on us moving to Columbus, is where we are now.
Is that where your mother-in-law lives?
Yes, that's where she lives.
Okay, so it was moving closer to her.
Absolutely. Which she was so happy to have us. Both our parents were happy to have us, but we ended up moving to Columbus, and then we kind of figured out that, hey, this cash flow that we're receiving for these rentals isn't going to quite cut it. So we said, hey, what's the pivot? She's like, I don't know. You figure it out. And that's when it kind of went back to the podcast that I've been listening to. So Bigger Pockets Money podcast. I ended up hearing Dave Menz speak on that. Thank you for that, Dave. So it intrigued my interest, and I looked into it more. And then finally, when I had the opportunity, after we exited out of the properties, we're able to use that seed money to go and buy a business. And it happened to be a laundromat.
Would you like to make more money from your laundromat? Would you like those machines you're paying for to have more turns per day? Do you offer wash, dry, fold services or pickup and delivery laundry services? If not, would you like to? Whether you do or not, we have an amazing opportunity for you in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, you've probably heard about it, guys, but it's our wash, dry, fold, pickup, and delivery workshop. And to answer your first question, yes, it is for drop-off laundry, wash, dry, fold, and pickup and delivery. So if you're doing any of those things, this workshop is going to help you tremendously. But the truth is, we were pretty so-so laundromat owners and so-so successful until we launched drop-off laundry and pickup and delivery. And being able to, what I call, optimize your laundromat to generate more profit and more revenue out of the existing facility, that's the key to taking your life from good to great, financially speaking, with laundromats. And that's what made us Laundromat Millionaires.
You don't have to just listen to us. Listen to what some of our past attendees have to say about our Wash, Dry, Fold, Pickup and Delivery workshop in Cincinnati, Ohio.
It was the best workshop I've attended in over 25 years. And what you guys have put together is nothing short of phenomenal. I think that you guys have put together both strategic and tactical systems that will make an individual who wants to own the laundromat profitable within months, not years.
Was the workshop worth the investment? Without a doubt, it was definitely worth the investment. So not only did we have two very packed days with Dave and Carla and their team, both in the classroom and touring the facilities, but we also came away with this extensive 100-page handbook. And then after the workshop was completed, I received a bunch of electronic performers and templates that we've been able to use since the workshop. Every day since the workshop, I've found myself referring back to either those electronic tools or the handbook that I received. So,
was it worth the investment? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I cannot say that enough. This was such a blessing, and I am so very grateful that Dave and Carla put this together and are sharing their knowledge and experience with others to have to have this to grow their business and to become more successful. Thank you guys.
So are you interested? Go to laundromatmillionaire.com to learn more and see where you can register.
So going back to you listening to the podcast, Bigger Pockets with Dave on it, and he talked about owning a laundromat and being able to, flip it from a Zombiemat and make a great life for himself through that.
Yes.
So what made you choose Laundromats? First of all,
yes,
I'm guessing Dave's persuasive speech, but but then what were your next steps? So once you decided I'm going to get into laundromats like Dave Menz.
Yes.
What did you do? Because we have a lot of listeners that are wanting to get into the laundromat business, but how do you get started? How do you know it's a good deal? What do you look for?
Absolutely. So I mean, it was a whirlwind of questions that I had to ask myself. But one was most importantly, how do I want to serve the community? Like, what do I want to do? And I said, man, I could definitely own a laundromat and do that service, make people feel good about themselves, bring them into an environment that is much more appealing than what they're used to. So that was my number one thing. How can I serve? Because I feel like even in leadership, I'm a servant leader. That's where I do my best work. But where did I start? I started with YouTube University. So I would you just hop down that rabbit hole and you're just looking at all these videos, all these things and how it works. Also another one, Investment Joy. I watched a ton of his videos and just kind of figuring out how exactly it works. But really it just became a proponent of once I saw a deal, let's hop into the deal and let's see how we can fit in there. The first deal didn't work out the way I wanted to. I didn't get the first deal. And it ended up being the second deal that we ended up hopping into and getting. But I was able to run my numbers, make sure it made sense. When it didn't make sense, we went through a negotiation piece and some of those things where, you're looking at the lease agreements and you're running through the terms of the agreement and just trying to figure out what makes sense. And sometimes you find yourself, hey, you only have 5 years left in this lease. There's no way that I can take on this. We don't even have a long-term guarantee that we'll be in this structure. What is it to say that they won't just make you jump ship?
Yeah.
So there's
a lot of capital investment with a laundromat. You don't want to jump ship. They're not easy to move.
Exactly. So those are some of the pieces, but it all came apart where, hey, videos were enough. It was time to get into the game and actually jump into it. So you could only do but so much reading and so much YouTubing until you just have to take some action. So really that was the case. I took action. I followed up. I made sure that I was going into it with my head straight. And also I had the financing prepared, the whole nine, all these things I brought together to formulate the deal. So if I could add to anything it's take action. Literally, that's it. Just show up, take action, and you'll find your way. If the first deal doesn't work, the second one will, the third one will, whatever the case may be. But it's all about action.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody, even if you start out with a baseline of knowing nothing about an industry, you're going to learn with each one of those projects. And sometimes when we say projects, people think that means actually buying a laundromat. They think when they hear people like us say, take action, that means go buy a laundromat. And it could mean that, but it doesn't mean to do that until you're prepared and you found the right location. Taking action can be going through the process of vetting laundromats and finding locations and meeting with the owners and, learning how to read a cash flow statement and a P&L and the lease and making sure everything is lined up. And there's no such thing as perfect, but there is such a thing as excellence. And so I always say I'm looking for perfection, but I'll settle for excellence. And that's what I'm looking for. And if it falls below a certain bar, then I use the word punt, and I say I just punt, and I'm like, I'll just live to play another down, so to speak. So that's kind of what I hear you doing. I'm actually interested. tell us about the store that you ended up buying.
Yeah.
What was the condition of it? And we're probably just going to let you talk for a little bit here. What was the condition of it? Are you leasing? Did you buy the property? The equipment mix? How long? What year was this that you purchased it? And kind of did you have to go in and gut it? Was it similar to kind of our story where we, all 5 of our locations that we've owned, we had to, they were pretty much all Zombie-Mats, different levels of Zombie-Mat, and we had to go in and renovate them all. Some more slowly because of cash flow, and some of them a little bit quicker later on in our journey and things like that. But walk us through that process in a way that will help people that are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm having flashbacks as you asked the question. So we ended up purchasing it in December of 2020. One of my deals fell through, and I was looking at the ozone system. So I had talked to Ralph, and I said, Ralph, hey, this deal is falling through. I'm still interested in the laundromat industry. Do you know anybody else that may be selling? He says, hey, I don't know anybody in that area, but I can connect you with somebody. So he ended up connecting me with somebody that was based out in like Akron.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, hey, yeah, I have somebody that's selling, and he told me the location. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me go down there and see it. So I took my wife actually with me. So finally she goes in and she comes back and she's like, hey, did you know somebody's sleeping in there? And mind you, that's
how you know you have a great opportunity, folks. A lot of work, but a great opportunity.
Seriously.
It sounds like our story. Yeah, like he goes in and sees potential. I go in and see scary.
She's like, let's run. I'm like, no, let's fix this.
Yeah, exactly. So she goes in there and she's like, eyes big, like, oh my gosh, somebody's sleeping in there. And mind you, this is Sunday afternoon. That we're going there. And you guys know Sunday is one of our busiest days in the laundromat industry. So it was mind blowing to see that. So I go back to the guy and I say, hey, I'm interested in this particular property, but man, this is what I saw when I went in there. And from there, we started to negotiate, so to speak. I said, there's absolutely no way I can give you what you're asking for. So I think at the beginning of our conversation, it was like $25,000. And when you go in there, you're looking at all the machines. I mean, more than 75% of those machines were broke. They needed repair. They needed some type of work. So our initial plan was to get in there and repair what we could until we can get our new equipment in. And that's what we did. We repaired all what we could. We put down a good platform for everyone to see of what the new coming laundromat would look like, so to speak, and kind of put in that good, that feel good information for the folks to understand. A lot of folks did not believe it. They were like, oh, this place? No way.
So did you because I know other people listening are like, okay, so what did you do to let people know it was coming? Did you hang up pictures or what did you do to let?
So we had a big poster board. As soon as you came in through the front entrance, you were met with a big poster board that had our plans, what we were introducing, what the machine layout would look like.
Nice.
And this is all the stuff that came from our distributor. And we just put all those things that we had on paper, on email, on that actual platform, and kind of let them know what was to come, the kids area, the whole nine. And nice. We got some buy-in. Some people were like, yeah, right. No way. Not this place.
Well, people would come just because they're curious to see if you're actually going to do it and see what your intentions are.
That's so powerful. I want to draw attention to that for a minute, because when you take over a Zombiemat, which sounds like what this was. By the way, how many square feet was this?
4,000 square feet.
Okay, so a good size store.
Size.
Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you take over that and you're the new owner, I always say the first thing that's most important that I've always done with all of our locations, I call it kissing babies.
Yes.
Is just to go in and make yourself known. I am the owner, and this is there's two approaches to this. One of them is, You want to let I call them the bozos, but you want to let the bad guys know there's a new sheriff in town.
Yes.
So there ain't going to be no sleeping in here, and there ain't going to be no funny business.
100%.
And they're not going to believe you. They're going to challenge you, and you're going to have to step up to the plate. And you're going to have to be on your A++ game.
Yes.
And I call that the security side of renovating a store. And then there's the vision, selling what you're going to create. And there some people will buy your vision very easily. As soon as you tell them, they'll get tears and they'll believe you. And then, I call it a little bit naive almost, but they'll believe you because you just said it and they just believe what people say. But most people are pretty jaded. And so the next step to that process, beside going around and telling them what you're going to do, is to show them.
Absolutely.
And you can do that through a video tour. You can do that by having an architect draw something up very professional. You can do it on a picture board is what I've heard those referred to as. And man, a lot of people will not believe you until they see it with their own eyes. And I don't mean see you change the store, but see your vision that you told them about in a picture.
Yes.
And a lot of people will start to buy it. Now, some still will not. And so the next thing is when they see you starting to tear down the old, when they see the destruction before the construction. And this is a journey that you have to travel, but you can do this very quickly. And it really all is predicated on one, or I guess maybe two things. One of them is your heart, and two of them is your follow through. Like, are you the type of, I really believe this. There's two types of people in this world: people that do what they say they'll do, and people that don't. And it's really not any more complicated than that. So I just wanted to call attention to that, but I want to pull it all back to the fact of your heart. I love that this industry attracted you to it because of your heart for community, because it's one of the things that that is not what attracted me to this business. People are surprised when I tell them that. I wasn't even aware. That's how little I knew. I was just trying to make a little money for my family and have a nice little side hustle. That was all I was trying to do. And then I realized what a difference we make in our communities when we turn a Zombiemat into a modernized laundromat. And, sometimes that happens in phases over 5 or 6 years, but it really makes a big difference. And the best operators that I know of in this industry doesn't have anything to do with their business acumen, doesn't have anything to do with their capital position. It has to do with their heart.
Yes.
Because I've learned that the most successful operators are the ones that are most excited about playing the game, not about the score. And the money is the score. So just wanted to draw attention to that for anyone that's listening out there that's a newbie, that's maybe in Yannick's position, that he was in 3 or 4 years ago. We've been there ourselves. That's the first step. So when you're looking at that journey, the first step is making sure you pay the right price and you don't overpay and things like that. Once you close on the store, what's the next step? I just laid it out there for you in about 30 seconds of how you go through step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they happen all simultaneously.
Yes.
So I just wanted to call attention to that. But tell us a little bit more about this. 4,000 square feet is a pretty good size store for your first store. So tell us about the renovation and what you did, and if you're using card systems or I'm sure you'll send us a few pictures that Carla can drop in the show too, to give everybody a visual. But tell us about that journey, and I'm sure you stubbed your toe a little bit, I'm guessing.
What were your challenges?
Oh man, more than you could imagine. So first challenge is, hey, I promised this picture. Of course I got to perform. So I go to the first lender that I had, that I gave the pitch to. This is what I want to do. We sat in their office. They agreed to it, and everybody's feeling good. I left out of there feeling good. The interest rate and everything that we agreed to changed the moment I left their office. And they came back, and I was like, man, these numbers do not pencil. Like you guys told me one thing, but that is not what you're doing right here. So ended up having to find another lender. And this is after I've gotten the whole process going. The only upside was we had COVID going on. So there was a back order on the equipment. So I couldn't even have it if I wanted it.
Now that you have a few years under your belt, why do you think that was happening? You think they were trying to just take advantage of you as a newbie, or?
So I don't know if I would say necessarily take advantage of me, but it was the fact that I was buying the laundromat for the price that I was buying it for. They saw that as I don't have any skin in the game.
Scared them.
So they wanted to get money some way. But so I think that might have been the case, and why terms kind of changed for me. But all the while, I ended up going with the other bank, and those terms worked out, and they had no issue. So the way that the deal structure was, so I said, hey, the most I could give you was $2,500, and in that he gave me one month's worth of rent free, basically. So that was the trade-off. So like when people say zero money, I put some money in there, but it was basically it all equaled out to zero.
Mm-hmm. Was the business making money when you took over it?
So I didn't even see P&Ls, to be honest with you.
Probably didn't have them.
Yeah. So
if it was dead on a Sunday, it wasn't making money.
Yeah, no, it wasn't making money. Yeah. It wasn't making money at all. So to say the least, we had a huge uphill battle to take on. But once we got the equipment in, the loan was financed, then we were able to go from there and kind of propel things. What we said we were doing, people were seeing that, and they saw that with our goodwill towards the machines. We were repairing machines that were broke for a long time. It was like, and they didn't expect that. So being able to see that, you build a rapport with folks, and they saw me like every day. I was there. I was doing something. Something was always changing. Whether it was small or something as far as removing the flooring, things of that nature. You saw me working every day, so you were like, "Oh, this guy's really doing something. He's doing what he said he was going to do." And then we always made sure that it was attended, even when we were very little manned. We made sure it was attended so we could get the riffraff out of there, and there weren't any complications. And if a machine did take your money, we were there to help you with that process. So that made all the difference. But it was definitely a challenge, to say the least, when it came to the construction piece, because it's an older building. So there's old piping, old electrical. So all those things are being exposed. And here I am thinking, I basically got this deal for no money, right? But on the back end, there was plenty backwards.
You were going backwards.
You were putting the money in. You just weren't putting it into the initial purchase.
Exactly.
Well, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize when we talk about getting the no money down laundromat or whatever.
Yeah, the free laundromat.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some of that too, but you have to understand that while that infrastructure does have value, typically that infrastructure is 30, 40, 50, 60 or more years old, and it decays. And we've had almost every situation we've been in where we've retrofitted a store, almost every one of them, we've went in and the existing infrastructure, not all of it, but a good portion of it, literally just crumbled in our hands. And man, when you're not planning on that and you think, you've seen the YouTube videos about, you get all this infrastructure for free and all you got to do is put new equipment in. It's like, no, so you're still pulling out the old equipment and the bulkheads fall apart in your hands. And then you got to figure out how to build or buy a bulkhead, and then you got to put the plumbing in it, and you find out that the electric panels are dated and they're not safe, and you got to pull them out and put new panels in. And there is a going backwards process before moving forward. So we like to call attention to the reality of owning a laundromat.
Yes,
so that's why I just wanted to pull that out.
That's a good point, because I definitely encountered that, to say the least. Like, I had a budget, I eyeballed things. I was just like, okay, I see that, I know that's bad, it's gonna have to come out. We'll go, just give me a quote. Like, you guys give me a quote for that, how much it would cost. There's underlying things that you didn't think about or take into consideration, especially coming from the residential space, that you don't take into consideration when you're dealing with commercial. But the free laundromat is not so much free.
It's definitely a battle you have to be willing to work for. So tell us a little bit about the store. Did you renovate the store in like one fell swoop and just total gut job and had a brand new laundromat 6 months later? Did you do it in, I call it stair stepping. Did you do it in phases, a little bit now, then let cash flow build up, then do a little more? What equipment did you put in there? What payment systems do you use?
Yes.
Feel free to call attention to the things that the things and products and companies that you've had a good experience with. We like to give people credit where credit is due on the show.
Absolutely. So I ended up doing a bigger renovation on the front end, and I used Laundry One as my distributor, and they supplied extra products. So we ended up doing 27 washers and a total of 10 dryers, 2 being just single dryers, and then the other 8 being stackables, 35-pound stackables, and then 2 80-pound dryers. So we did that, and that was our small scale. But in total, it got us enough to have that throughput that we needed during that time. And then the whole piece was, as we go along, we would add more equipment in there, and keep that flow going. So that's what we've been doing, to say the least, throughout this period of time.
Was that the 27 new washers? Was that all the washers? Did you replace all of them?
Yeah, that was all. I didn't replace washer for washer, but I put together that package so that I can at least be able to put through the throughput that we needed during that time. And it's been working so far so good. There's still some space to add more equipment, but we haven't got there yet. So we're still phasing it out.
Is all the old equipment gone now?
Yeah, all the old equipment is gone. I got rid of every piece of everything that was there. There's no reason to hold on to it at all.
So you have 27 washers, but only 8 30-pound stacks and 2 80s?
Yes. So
let's break that down a little more for everybody. Yeah. So you have 2 80-pound dryers.
Yep.
And then you have 8 30-pound stacks, which is 16 pockets.
Yes.
Right? Okay, 30-pound pockets. Okay. And what's the washer sizes that you have?
So we have 2 90-pound washers.
Okay.
And then we have 4 60-pound washers.
Okay.
And then we have 4 40-pound washers.
Okay.
And then we have you have
a good amount of small machines.
Yeah, 20 pounds, and then we have 30 pounds. Those are our smaller machines.
Okay.
And we're learning now that we may need to have bigger washers versus our 20 pounders, because those get used least amount, because we have more so families that come in want to use our laundromat. So we're learning that now, but it was at least our good starter package.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's the great thing to point out to the audience, because, I think there's, we get in the Facebook groups and stuff like that, which I'm a big fan of, and we have one. By the way, if you're not in it, come join us. Laundromat Millionaire Facebook group. Come join us. It's totally free on Facebook. But yeah, one of the things, you hear a lot in these Facebook groups is people talk about, go all big washers, all big dryers. And there is a place for that. But what you kind of pointed out is you have to know your demographic. You have to know your audience. Who are you serving? If you're serving mostly families, then you're going to get large volumes of laundry per customer. And when you get those, they typically want the 90s, the 80s, the 60s, those types of machines. And you're going to need some, larger dryers to go with those too. But if you put too many small machines in there and you're serving families, you're actually going to drive them away, because they don't want to come in and take 80 pounds of laundry and load it in 4 20s because you only have 2 80s and they're full or something like that. That sounds like that's something that you kind of learned a little bit. But the flip side is also true. There are plenty of demographics out there where you're not serving, you're going to always serve families, but you're not going to primarily serve families.
Right.
And if you are serving more of singles and, young married couples and things like that who don't have kids, then you're going to want to skew a little bit towards the smaller 20s and 30s. And even in some cases, top loaders. I'm not a big fan of top loaders, but in some cases they have their place. They have their place for sure. But anyway, great. So what about the payment systems? Tell us about the payment system. Are you on coin or?
So we went the hybrid method. So we went with a coin, and then we also have a system called TangerPay. It's an Australian-based company. However, they were the most affordable company and the least complicated, to say the least. Whenever we were hopping into it and trying to figure out what was the best approach for the card system and who should we have, and you didn't necessarily have to, cut holes in your machines or anything of that nature. Everything was wired based, so you were able to do that, and it was unseen.
So is that a phone pay system where you just put the fob inside the lid of the machine and you pay with your phone app or something like? I'm familiar with Tanger app, but
so they have two ways that you do it. So you do, they call them pips, but you take those pips and you attach it to the machine, and that reads to the hard base that's in your office or whatnot. And you have a kiosk that you can pay on. So we have a kiosk that you can pay through.
Okay.
But if you want to, there's QR codes on every machine. You can scan that QR code and that'll take you directly to the app, or not the app, the web base. And that was another thing. I didn't want a middleman in between the payment system. So I didn't want an app that was going to stop you from being able to pay, or you having to download anything. You scan it, you go directly to it, and you make your payment.
So did you end up adding ozone yet? I know you mentioned that.
No,
before,
I
not
didn't.
yet.
So like you said, I ran into some snags. So when we exposed some of those plumbing and some of those wires, the budget kind of increased. So it's like, what do we cut out? We got to cut out the ozone for now.
Yeah.
We got new machines; they'll love that.
There's nothing better than free. Ever heard that before? Well, it's not true. You know what your laundromat customers like even better than free? It's fast. That's right. They want to save time more than they want to save money in most cases. They want to get in and out of your laundromat as fast as possible, and they'll pay more for that experience. We're proof of that here in Cincinnati. That's why we added HM Company drain troughs into our newest store in Cincinnati. While they may never know why, your customers will love that your washers all drain better and faster than with old school drain pipes. As if that wasn't enough, every HM drain trough is made in the USA, so they ship in only a few weeks, and everyone is custom made just for you and your project. If you want to provide your customers with a top of the industry experience in your store, then contact your distributor to order your HM Company drain trough today, or visit draintroughs.com. So tell us about the store today. So the store is attended today, and I know you can't give us a percentage because it sounds like it was doing zero when you bought it. But I hope hopefully the business is doing a lot better now. I'd like to kind of tell the other side of the story of, we're almost exactly 3 years that you've been in business. I assume business has grown. You're getting lots of good feedback and good reviews, things like that. What's that journey been like for you?
Yeah, so once we got over the hump as far as the rehab is concerned, and now that we're in year 3, basically, we've made a heck of a headway as far as our reviews. Not so much on our Google page. I mean, we have like maybe 50 reviews or whatnot, and typically they're all 5 stars. But when you go on like our Facebook page, it's all this feedback. I'm like, guys, you need to put that on the Google page. And a lot of people will come in and say, hey, I went to other laundromats, but I want to come to yours because it's attended, it's always well kept, it's clean, and we like the environment. Like we're a Christian-owned organization as well, so like you're hearing Christian music. That's what's being played, because I also want to put God in everything that I do. So it's definitely been a transition. Numbers wise, we're 200% better than we were beforehand. So it's been a heck of a journey, but along the road we've been able to help a lot of people, and just being able to support the community, period. Like that. That's the best part, and people feel like they could sit down and read a book. Before they would just go sit out in their cars. Like so. It's definitely good, and we want to keep pushing that, keep getting it better, keep improving. And while we're talking about systems, because we were talking about Tangier Bay before, Clean Cloud is also what I'm using as well. So we have a different system for the wash, dry, and fold and dry cleaning.
Do you do pick up and delivery, or do you just do drop off?
We do pick up and delivery, but not a whole lot of it. If you're using, because we don't have a van ourselves, but if you're using the Clean Cloud app, we can do DoorDash. So that's a platform that we have to perform that, but we don't do a lot of it.
Gotcha.
Do you outsource your dry cleaning? I assume you don't do the dry cleaning.
We do outsource our dry cleaning, and that was a challenge too, because the first time I used to have myself or others just go and, once they dropped it off, we would take it and deliver it. And then finally, we came across a company that was able to do a wholesale basically discount, and then allow us to. They did the pickup and delivery, so I gave them a fob. They got a fob. They can buzz in and grab the clothes and go out, and they drop it off, and it just a easy flowing system for that. But we're not doing it in house.
Yeah, you're basically just a drop store. We do the same kind of thing. We do pick up and deliver it ourselves because we have pick up and delivery. But we wholesale out the dry cleaning. That's
absolutely
great. That's great if you can find a company that works well with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's working out. It's been flowing pretty well. So I like the structure of it as opposed to what we were doing beforehand.
Do you know off the top of your head what the percentages are of your revenue from self-serve to dry cleaning to drop off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say 75% of our threshold is self-service. And then we have that other 25, you divvy that other 25% into the wash, dry, and fold and the dry cleaning piece. And that kind of makes up the thresh. But yeah, that's probably our breakdown.
Okay. What do you charge for your machines and for your drop-off service?
Yeah, absolutely. So 90 pounds, we're charging $12 for that.
Okay.
60 pounds, we're charging $8.50 for those. 40 pounds, we're charging $6.50 for those. 30s are $4.50, and then 30s are $3.50.
Okay.
So that's our breakdown as far as our machines are concerned. And then for the dryers, so if you're using the 90 or 80 pound dryers, it's going to be $1 per 8 minutes, and that's like the least amount that you can put in. So you have to use $1 at least to start the machine. And then the stacks, we're doing about $1 per 16 minutes.
What's your wash, dry, fold price? Prices?
So it was $1.80 a pound. So we just raised it to $2 a pound. So now it's $2 a pound. So that just happened last week. We raised it to $2 a pound.
Have you seen any pushback yet?
No. So I haven't seen any pushback at all. I mean, because I think the folks that are doing wash, dry, and fold, they like conveniency. It's not necessarily the price that matters. Of course, price makes a difference, but it's not necessarily the price, but it's the speed at which we can do it. And the fact that they don't have to do it. They can drop it off and they can go spend time with their family, go do errands, and they come back and pick it up almost the same day.
One of the things I've learned too, because we have multiple stores coming at us from multiple experiences before we bought them, is when you start drop-off laundry service in a store that's never had drop-off, it's a tougher hill to climb for sure. We're talking years and years and years and a lot of, good marketing budget. You got to be in it for the long haul. If you acquired a store that had a drop-off service, even if it was poorly done, man, you can turn that around really quickly. And the volume is there because even if it was a bad drop-off service, they've been doing drop-off laundry for 20 years. Right. And man, there's an awful lot of momentum that you gain when you acquire a store that already has it. So just
we've done both.
Yeah, we've done both. We've done both. And our lowest producing drop-off store to this day after 15 years was our second store we acquired. I mean, we've owned the store for 14 years now or 13 years now. And it still doesn't hold a candle to our next lowest performing drop-off laundry store. Now we've increased the marketing budget for that location and we're really hitting it hard at the moment. We also do a lot of drop-off laundry in that area. So you kind of
pick up and delivery.
Yeah.
Laundry in that area.
Pick up and delivery in that area too. So that's part of it too. Well, listen. So
I have a question for you. So now looking back, you've done the laundromat journey, right? You're still in it, but you've gotten through the first humps.
Yes.
If I were a person coming to you and looking to get into the industry, so I'm starting to look at stores and get my first laundromat, can you tell me maybe just a couple pieces of advice you would give or lessons that you learned?
Yeah. So for me, the biggest lesson that I learned has to do with real estate. So getting into the journey, I saw the opportunity. I was just like, I want to get my feet wet. I want to get exposed to this. So let's get into the industry however I could. So the pre-existing laundromat was what I was exposed to. So that's what I got into. And it also came, I don't own the real estate. It came with a lease. And although this is a 10-year lease with 2 5-year extensions, the cap for which I can finance my equipment is 10 years. So when you go into the financing piece, if you want to have the maximum amount of runway, I totally understand, wanting to get in the industry and wanting to do it. But if you can own the real estate, that's the way to go. And if that takes some patience, be patient, because that's the bread and butter. That's what gives you the best terms that you could possibly have, is by owning the real estate. So if I could add any value to anybody's life, is do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great advice. A lot of people don't realize, whether you buy the real estate or lease the real estate, they don't realize that if you have a lease, the terms of your initial, the length of your initial term is the length of your equipment financing note.
Yes.
Maximum. Doesn't mean they'll give you that. Sometimes they won't.
Yes.
But if you have a 5-year, for example, you hear people pretty commonly saying in the industry now, get a 10-year lease with 2 or sometimes 3 or 4 or 5-year options. Mm-hmm. You're pretty much banked on the most you can finance your equipment for is 10 years.
Yes.
Now, in a lot of cases, people don't want to finance it for more than 10 years because, you don't want to finance it for the whole length of the life cycle of the equipment too. But I have definitely seen people go with, I'll do, they think it reduces their risk by, instead of doing a 10-year term initially, they'll do 2 5-year terms. So they'll do, in your case, they do 4 5-year terms instead of a 10 and 2 5s. And then they realize I can only finance the equipment for 5 years. Yeah. And man, that'll talk about runway. That'll cut your runway in a third really quickly. And it'll make it very difficult to get out of the gate.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, as opposed to owning it, then you have a 25-year term that you're, getting your financing through. And that makes all the world of difference when you're talking about cash flow.
I tell you what, I do a lot of coaching nowadays and have for several years now. And one of the things that we probably talk about more than anything else is just buying yourself as much runway as possible. And then if you don't need that runway, that's fine. Go ahead and take off. Nothing says you can't. But man, if you run out of runway, that's when it's game over, folks. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you for your time. Before we let you go today, what's next for you? What's your, as much or as little as you want to share? We're not asking for any top secret information here, but what's next for you? Because I don't know.
More laundromats?
After talking to you for an hour or so now, I kind of feel like I'm pretty comfortable saying you're just getting started, whether it's with laundromats, car washes, real estate, or all of the above, or who knows, you may have a bicycle shop tomorrow.
No, thank you for asking. But so I think the biggest proponent for me is affordable housing right now. Mm-hmm. I want to meddle the two between affordable housing and the laundry business together in some way, shape, or form. But affordable housing is the biggest thing, and also just creating a community of folks that also are like-minded, that want to create a better living situation for folks, that want to partner, finding like-minded people that want to put up affordable units, that also want to have. We want to do business together. I want to partner. I don't want to have to do this lone wolf thing the rest of my life. Like, it's cool, but I like community, like, period. Like that, and that's what I want to do. So that's what's next. Affordable housing.
With laundromats near them, they need
exactly. Some type of laundromat nearby.
Well, you're definitely hitting on a couple things that could synergize really well together as affordable housing and a modernized laundromat. Talk about synergies all day long.
Well, and you could develop some affordable housing near your laundromats and car washes, and then you would be bringing the customers near your business.
that would be great. Like, I'm all for that for sure.
Anyway, awesome stuff. Fantastic advice for sure. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy week to spend with us and share your knowledge and your experience with the industry. It is really appreciated. And I know personally, obviously, you're already successful. You're going to continue to be successful. But I love the fact that every time I find out that somebody has been attracted to and has fallen in love with our industry, the laundromat industry, through their heart, meaning that they have a heart of service for their community.
And sharing God with others. I love that you're, integrating that Christian music and just the Christian atmosphere of giving and loving everyone and serving everyone.
Yep. And what I've learned through, networking and coaching, hundreds, if not thousands of laundromat owners, is the most successful people in our industry, and you can define success how you want, but the most successful people in our industry are the people that focus on serving their community. And so what I always tell people is, if you have the heart of a servant and it's important to you, in this case for us, it's our faith, but if that's important to you, then you're probably not going to find a better industry to be involved in than something like the laundromat industry, affordable housing, those types of things. And man, what an opportunity to make a difference in the community. And the beauty of that is, if we do that for a nonprofit purpose, they call that philanthropy, right? Yes. The thing I've learned is the people that do pure capitalism, business, at its core through a heart of service, the score is always higher for them. And the way that we keep score is the money, the bank account, the profitability of the business. And there's nothing wrong with making a profit. There's nothing wrong with making money. And if you're really philanthropic, is that the right way? Philanthropic? Yeah. If you're really giving in that way, then if you really want to, you can take a portion or all of your profits and give them, or create your own nonprofit organization and entity and give back in other ways. So it's just everything that I love about business and about this industry. And I love meeting and getting to know and quite frankly, bringing forward to the industry examples of people doing that, because my experience has been that you win more than others. Even the people that are, it's no secret that there are some people in business, hopefully not in our industry, but there are some people in business, the only thing they focus on is themselves, profitability. They want to build the business around what they want and don't care about the community. They want to make as much money as possible at the expense of their community. And the thing that I always, and I've been in business for 15 years now, but I've been studying it since I was born. And the thing I found so ironic about that is every time I see someone whose sole focus is themselves and making as much profit as possible, they never out-earn the people that are focused on servitude. Like it's fascinating to me. And it leads me back to what I'd like to close this episode with today, which is, me and Carla's, and it sounds like yours too, Yannick, our guiding light for our lives and how we do life is God in the Bible. And it's never led me astray. I have led me astray.
Yes.
But the word of God and his advice for how we run business, which is in this case is through a heart of servitude, it will never lead you astray. So even if you're not a person of faith, obviously we hope that you will find that path someday. But even if you don't, even if that's not who you are, but you just want to be a successful, thriving entrepreneur, the best way to do that is through focusing on serving your community. You will, I can almost guarantee you that you will find a new level, a new ceiling to your business if you approach it that way. Anyways, listen, we're going to close out this episode today. For everybody back home, thanks for joining us. Yannick, thank you so much. We're not that far away. We should get together for lunch sometime.
Yeah, come down to Cincy.
Come down to Cincinnati, or honestly, we could each drive a half hour to meet in the middle.
Yeah, Dave doesn't want to go to Columbus. He's freaked out about Columbus.
Yeah, they have my picture on billboards in Columbus. I'm not allowed up there, but I can get close to Columbus.
Yes, we can meet halfway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I think they have a separate jail cell for me if I come too within the city limits.
It's decorated in Buckeye apparel.
It's blue. No blue and yellow allowed.
Yes, that's right. So anyway, thanks for joining us, my friend. For everyone in Cincinnati and everyone in Columbus, Ohio, and everyone all over the world, thanks for joining us today for another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. We'll see you next time. Take care.